to talk about the new Axial Racing SCX10 2. This is probably one of the best releases from any manufacturer in a very long time. Yes, people are going to talk about the Vitera Ascender and how it does a lot of the things that this truck does as well. I can't disagree with that fact. What I can disagree with is the ease and simplicity of the package that is the SCX10 2. Out of the box, you're going to find that you don't need to do anything. Just run it as it is. Build it up, put a battery pack in it, and run it. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to flip the trans. You don't need to do any of the things that you've seen on any of the forums. Put a battery in it and run it. You are going to love this truck. Let me briefly talk about the ease of the build. Bob stock, following the directions. There were a few images that were wrong in the instructions. You know, like an arrow going through one piece that wasn't supposed to go through. Those things are all easily remedied. If you've built a kit before, you just kind of know when things don't seem right. If it doesn't feel right when you build it, obviously go back and experiment and try something different. Because I think that part of the beauty of building a kit is being able to tinker and being able to do it yourself. And that's one of the things that I really love about building a kit is exploring and finding out what works and what doesn't work and what's incorrect in the instruction booklet. Luckily enough, I had everything included. There was only one small thing, and I think it's probably a manufacturing issue, but one of the rear links was 2 millimeters too short. So it ended up kind of clocking the axle a little bit. I just solved that by putting a 2 mil spacer in there, and Bob's your uncle, everything was fine there. I mean, I guess I could have called Axial and had them send me a new one, but for the 2 seconds that it took me to do that, I wasn't going to compromise the actual rest of the build by waiting for something like that. So, obviously, first gen jitters, sometimes parts are missing, sometimes parts are slightly different than they should be, but all in all, it was a pretty easy build to do. Really happy with the result. You can see that this is not exactly stock. The paint job that I've done here is to sort of replicate a Jeep Speed, and that's a racing series that they do in the West Coast. Take a stock or a modified Jeep XJ usually and set it up to race it. And this is sort of where I wanted to take it. One of the big changes I've done over the stock kit is I've cut out the whole rear of the truck and added the honcho cage in there. So that gives it sort of that racy kind of look. Allows me to do a spare tire in the rear, which I thought looked pretty cool. And just, you know, kind of made it my own. Definitely gave it a bit more originality than just painting it and running it. I've also done the bomber interior, which was a pretty decent fit. It's not quite wide enough, but it's pretty close. And once you do up some scale details, you don't really notice that it's not exact and perfect, but definitely great. I hate seeing electronics in a scale truck or a trail truck or any kind of truck. You gotta have an interior in there, and that's one of the requirements that I always put into every build. So even on my short course trucks, I know it's probably blasphemy and I'm spending a lot of time and energy weighing a truck down when I should be racing it, but I don't really race. I like to have fun, and I want to make sure they look as real as possible. So that's why I do that. It'd be nice if Axial included an interior, because there certainly is room for a Lexan one. But again, I've got a couple of these floating around, so it's easy for me to just plop one in and be good to go. But yeah, definitely detailed it up a bit, put some hosing in there to give them the air tubes for clean air, because it's dusty in the desert, man. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. Also added the Method wheels from Vanquish. They look great. The ones that come with the kit are glue-on. They're not beadlock, and I always prefer to run beadlock because I don't like gluing tires to wheels. I like to be able to move my tires around and try different things. So That's the reason I went with that. I'm sure a lot of aftermarket people are going to come up with kits that allow you to move the transmission forward. Probably even GCM is working on something right now. They usually are really quick to market on things, and they always do a really good job. That said, there's a lot of people who are making aftermarket kits that will move that transmission around, but honestly, the trade-offs for me aren't worth it. You lose room for battery. You can't mount a servo winch, which, that's really something awesome that Axial included, and they really thought about the comp world when they did that. Why would you lose that? I mean, honestly, those two features alone, bigger battery up front, which you really want for the weight anyway, and the ability to have a servo winch installed, that's really awesome. Because let's be honest, as much as this bumper looks cool and as much as it's nice to have a winch mounted on it, it's kind of a land anchor. And you want to have as little overhang as possible if you're going to comp with a rig like this, just so you can avoid running that bumper into rocks, which I guarantee will happen. It happened a lot at Axial Fest for me, and while I definitely love the look of it, or later on down the road, I can definitely see myself going to the servo-mounted winch. And if I were to move my transfer case around, I wouldn't be able to do that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't need to talk about that any further. The sliders out of the box on the truck are really good. The only downside is there's a bit of material on there that kind of could get hung up on stuff, and you can probably see that I've got some scrapes on there already. I guess you probably noticed the axles on there too. Those, I'm really happy to have been fortunate enough to make time to go see the guys at Vanquish before I went up to Axial Fest this year. And Josh, aka Harley Designs, was happy enough to give me a set of the prototype Curry axles for the SCX10 too. They are phenomenal. I mean, even as a prototype, unfinished, they're awesome. They're so small. They look super accurate to the actual Curry axle. And all the bits and pieces that they've kind of innovated over the years are all coming into this one new axle. So the new bearing mounts, rather than clamp, they sit in this thing. I'll show a picture here in a second, but the bearing doesn't get clamped or pinched. It just sits nicely in this little holder, and that gets screwed into the case. So they've really kind of thought things through. Even on the end, there aren't C-hubs anymore. That's something that's integrated into the axle. And you're probably asking, well, that's cool, but what happens if I strip out one of those holes? I've ruined my whole axle. Well, they've thought that through as well. And it's going to be a replaceable collar that sits in the C-hub that has the threads on it. So that is what you screw your bolt into for your steering arms. Rather than wrecking the whole thing, if you strip it out, you just strip out that collar, replace the collar, and you're back on the road. I think it's a really smart innovation, and really happy to see that. Also on the rear axle, there's no more lockout or extra bit on the end of the axle. It's just a cap that screws on, and they've really kind of thought it through. They've reduced the amount of materials overall, but I think they've kept the strength, and they've definitely kept the looks. Like, I can't get over how awesome these axles look. Overall, I mean, just from a look standpoint and an engineering and manufacturing standpoint, I think they're going to be a huge success. So thanks again to Vanquish for providing me with those. I'm really looking forward to getting them out there. Oh, I should mention that on the rear here, that's a Gearhead Baja light bar, and I've wired that into a Hey-OK brake controller, so when I accelerate, the lights dim, and when I take off acceleration, the lights go back to full brake. So another level of realism that I definitely wanted to incorporate into it. I'm super happy with this truck overall, and I mean, performance-wise, it's pretty darn awesome. Side hill's great. Lots of grip from the stock BFG tires, which I wasn't totally expecting. Usually kit tires aren't always the best, but I'm probably going to keep these on here for a while because I'm pretty impressed with how they work. They're good in the loose. They probably cake with mud, but I haven't had an opportunity to run in any kind of wet mud yet this year. It's been really dry here, and it was really dry out west. So there were a few water hazards, but the tires are pretty good for a stock tire. Really happy with that. Drivetrain's really smooth, really quiet. Steering is ridiculous. It's just a pretty awesome truck, and I mean, I'm really happy to have gotten one as quick as I did. I know that they're in short supply, but as Axial starts rolling them out and they start coming off the shipping containers, they'll be filling the hobby shops, and definitely get your hands on one. Now, they just did release an RTR version as well. The main difference between those two releases is the RTR contains the skid with the old transmission. Not a big deal, but for me, I'm probably going to stay away from doing that. I like the new transmission a lot. I think the added weight that it has is good. The truck is super light stock, so I actually prefer trucks to have a bit of the weight, especially when I'm making videos. I like to be able to see that suspension work when it's slowed down a little bit, and for me, it just gives it another dimension of realism, and I'm really keen on that stuff, obviously. So, I guess in conclusion, this is a great truck. Go get one.